Would you pray with me, please? Oh God, in this Lenten time, may the words of my mouth, the meditations of all of our hearts, be pleasing and acceptable to you, for you are our rock and our Redeemer. Amen. Enter the story, we're invited. This theme during this Lenten time. Enter the story. Do we really want to enter this story? We have this image. You've seen the artwork. Perhaps you've seen even in museums depictions of this text. It is one where we see the humanity of Jesus. We see the anger, the emotion. We talked last week and even on Ash Wednesday about this series being one that invites us into the emotion of what it means to be a faithful follower of Jesus. It's not all about peaches and cream stuff. It's not all about butterflies and beautiful sunrises and sunsets. And the reason it's not is because we're human. And life isn't always that way. Life has its journey of ups and downs and ups and downs. And in this particular event, we see Jesus as angry. And since we have an embodied faith, we believe the Spirit dwells in us. We need to understand our own embodiment of emotions. We need to understand our own embodiment of anger. What happens to us when we're angry? Some people you can see because the tips of their ears turn bright red. And maybe that's all. Maybe that's the only indication. They have everything else under control, so they think, except for here's the light responding. Sometimes it shows up in the face with the teeth clenched or a fist tight. Emotions are inside of us. They come from the inside and they show up on the outside. And then there's action pieces, as we see in this text, that goes with it. So it's important to understand that we have anger as an emotion because we need it. There are certainly times in our lives and certainly times in history, not only in this country but throughout the world and throughout all of time, where people have stood up in righteous anger, appropriately so, because others are being harmed. And even now we see some righteous anger in the ways that the planet is being treated and the harm that we cause ourselves in that. Perhaps some of you even come to some kind of angry place because of what's happening right now with this coronavirus. And I don't know how many of you have been to the store to find one last bottle of hand sanitizer, but I do not believe there are any. They're gone. Which is fine, except for my mind, sometimes in very childish ways, goes to the place of, I want to know who's hoarding it. I want to know who's not sharing their supply. Because I have that part of me, right? Perhaps you do as well. We see the pictures on the news of all of the cases of water and toilet paper missing, gone, sold at Costco and Sam's Club and Walmart and wherever else. Really? And so again, my mind, I get frustrated and wondering what's going on. And I have to pay attention to those feelings in my own body because I can't walk around like this all the time. Because if I would choose to do so, what's going to come out is I would probably have harsh words at someone completely innocent. Perhaps a child. Perhaps someone driving alongside of me on the highway. rising up of emotions, the tangled tension that is a part of our lives, and we feel it. So this text in the beginning, and if you read through the psalm, again, it talks about being stuck. The songwriter's talking about being stuck in the mud, stuck in a horrible place. God, please listen. Sometimes we're there as well. So we have this story of Jesus in the temple. And in the beginning part, we do have him throwing the temple treasuries, if you will, over. And then we see where this text takes a turn. And Jesus begins talking about temple as his body. Really? How do we get from temple turning over tables and getting rid of the cows? One of the things we need to understand is the temple is not the size of our sanctuary, but it's the size of like 12 soccer fields all lined up. That's how big it is. And that this is just in one portion at the very, very entrance where Jews and Gentiles can gather, and that's where they're having all of these selling of things. But even from that perspective, Jesus is calling them out as to what happened to the house of prayer. What is it you are worshiping? What is it that you're paying more attention to than God? And so as we look at this Lenten journey of putting ourselves into the story, putting ourselves into the story of Jesus' last week, where is the temple of our heart? Would you invite Jesus to come and cleanse the temple of your heart? See, when we pull it down to that personal place, we might want to put up a little wall. Really? Do you really want Jesus in there looking around and cleaning house? It'd probably be good for all of us. But yes, that's where Jesus belongs, cleansing the temple of our hearts. You see, we often focus on the wrong things in life. We get carried off into making sure we get the entire series on Netflix of some show or another. We do at my house as well. But sometimes that becomes more important than spending more time in prayer. More important than serving the poor. We can't buy our way in to that temple way with Jesus. We have to search for it with our own lives. Walter Brueggemann, when he looks at this text, has written that this temple, this Jesus focus, think of that as the symbolic center of your life. I just found that really intriguing. Jesus as temple, the symbolic center of life. And he goes on, as a place where you are met by goodness and holiness of God, where you draw fresh to the purpose of your life, where you get some clarity about who you are and what your life amounts to and how you will be remembered. What does it take to get to that place? That place where we invite Jesus in to cleanse our hearts so that we can let go of the stuff that drags us sometimes completely away from goodness and holiness. And it happens to the best of us and the worst of us, at good times and at bad times. We are so easily distracted, and yet we are called to enter this new place. Enter this place of goodness. Enter this place where Jesus resides, where we can learn to truly walk with him all of our days. And so may you be blessed this week as you continue to enter in to his passion.